Welcome to our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to receive the latest notifications. Today, I will introduce you to a true story about a disaster. Pus dripping in the ear when pain turns into a nightmare. The sky above the Atchafalaya swamp in Louisiana burned with the last hues of orange from the setting sun, but its light could not pierce through the thick fog engulfing the desolate land. The droning of insects blended with the sound of water trickling through the exposed roots of cypress trees, forming an eerie symphony, almost as if foreshadowing something terrible about to happen. Elena Marquez gripped the steering wheel of her old pickup truck, her breath shallow, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror as if expecting a ghost to emerge from the mist. The truck sat silently on the narrow dirt road, its weak headlights casting feeble beams onto the gnarled trees, but they did little to dispel the suffocating sense of unease gripping her. Elena, a 32-year-old freelance journalist from New Orleans, was no stranger to chasing stories, but she was unfamiliar with this swamp. She had grown up among the bustling streets where the sound of saxophones and the scent of fried beignets filled the air. But 2 weeks ago, an anonymous email had lured her out of her comfort zone. They're hiding something in Atchafalaya. Find Jonas Carver. Don't trust anyone. Attached was a blurry photo of a middle-aged man with a weathered face standing in front of an old drilling rig, surrounded by rusted metal barrels. No further details, but her instincts told her this could be the expose that would revitalize her stagnant career. She had done her research on Jonas Carver. He was once a chemical engineer for a small oil drilling company in Baton Rouge, but the company had gone bankrupt 10 years ago, and Carver had vanished without a trace. Rumors still circulated in nearby Morgan City, strange noises echoing from the swamp at night, people disappearing without explanation, and a foul stench wafting through the air whenever the wind changed direction. Elena didn't believe in ghosts, but she believed in the truth, and the truth was lurking somewhere in this unforgiving land. Now, here she was, alone, miles away from civilization. Her phone had no signal, and the radio emitted nothing but static. She was about to switch on the truck's interior light to check her map when a sharp pain stabbed through her left ear. Elena groaned, clutching her head. It felt like something was clawing inside, burning and wet. She tilted her head, and a thick, yellowish drop of fluid oozed out, landing on the shoulder of her white blouse. A pungent stench filled the cabin, not like normal pus, but something sulfuric, mixed with the scent of rotting flesh. "Shit," she muttered, wiping it away, but the smell made her gag. Before she could fully process what was happening, the headlights illuminated a figure standing in the middle of the road. Elena gasped, slamming the brakes. The truck skidded on the damp ground. The man didn't move. Tall, clad in a tattered coat, his face obscured beneath a worn-out baseball cap. Her heart pounded. She rolled the window down just a crack and shouted, "Hey, who are you? There's no one supposed to be out here." The man slowly lifted his head. Under the dim light, she saw his eyes, milky white, devoid of pupils like two marbled stones. A thick, yellow fluid seeped from his ears like dripping down his chin onto the ground. "You shouldn't have come here," he rasped, his voice torn and broken. "They know you're here." Elena barely had time to react before the man lunged at the car with impossible speed. She screamed, slammed her foot on the gas, but the engine stalled. He slammed his hand against the window, leaving behind streaks of sizzling yellow liquid. The glass cracked, and a foul stench filled the air. Elena scrambled backward, her trembling hands searching for the folding knife in her pocket. But before she could reach it, a gunshot rang out from the forest, and the man collapsed, black blood spraying from his head. She turned to see another man emerging from the mist, tall, gaunt, with silver hair and a hunting rifle in his hands. He wore an old leather coat, his face lined with scars, his eyes burning with intensity. "Get out of the car," he ordered. "If you want to live, come with me. Now." A strange screeching sound echoed from the swamp. Not insects, but something metallic grinding against metal, drawing closer. Elena jumped out, her bare feet touching the cold, damp ground. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Jonas Carver," he said, his gaze never leaving the fog. "And you've just stepped into the nightmare I tried to bury 10 years ago." They ran through the forest, branches slashing at Elena's face. The screeching behind them grew louder, joined by the heavy thuds of approaching footsteps. Jonas led her down hidden trails, pausing occasionally to listen. "What are they?" Elena shouted. "Not human," Jonas replied. "They're what the company created. Failed experiments." He pointed to a pile of rusted metal barrels beneath a tree. The words on the side were still legible. Biological Processing Chemicals, Carver Industries. Elena's stomach twisted. "You worked for them?" "I invented it," Jonas said, pain flashing in his eyes. "A bacteria designed to eat oil spills, a way to clean up disasters, but it mutated. It eats flesh, and it spreads through the ears." A sharp pain flared in Elena's ear. She touched it. More of the strange liquid was leaking out, accompanied by a faint, high-pitched whine from inside her own body. Jonas's expression darkened. "It's inside you." Panic surged through Elena, but there was no time to think. The screeching from the swamp turned into a roar. Jonas yanked her forward, leading her through murky creeks and tangled roots until they reached a small wooden cabin hidden deep in the swamp. Inside, the dim glow of an oil lamp flickered over a cluttered table covered in papers, maps, and shattered test tubes. Jonas bolted the door and placed his rifle on the table. "Sit," he ordered. "I need to check you." Elena obeyed, her hands trembling. Jonas grabbed a small flashlight and shone it into her ear. "Damn it," he muttered. "It's multiplying. When did the pain start?" I don't know," Elena shouted. "I only felt it after I got here." Jonas rummaged through a metal box, pulling out a syringe filled with a glowing blue liquid. "This is an inhibitor," he said. "It won't cure you, but it'll slow it down. Give me your arm." He injected her. A cold sensation spread through her veins, dulling the pain, but the high-pitched noise in her head remained. "What happened?" Elena asked weakly. "Why are you hiding here?" Jonas sighed, slumping into a chair. 10 years ago, Carver Industries wanted a cheap solution for oil spills. I created the bacteria, a synthetic organism that would consume oil and then die off once its job was done. But they got greedy. They tested it on people, poor workers in the swamp. The bacteria changed, spreading through the eardrum, eating their brains, turning them into that. I tried to stop them, but they shut down the project, erased all evidence, and left me to die. I've been here ever since, trying to find a way to destroy it. Elena stared at him in horror. "Then why are they still here?" "They don't die," Jonas said. "They evolved. They breed in the swamp, in the water, in the air, and now you're their new target." A heavy pounding shook the door. Elena flinched. Jonas grabbed his gun and motioned for silence. The pounding grew louder until the door exploded inward. 3 figures stepped through, eyes blank, yellow liquid oozing from their ears, bodies twitching unnaturally. Jonas fired. The bullet struck one, but it didn't fall. One lunged at him, razor-sharp nails slashing across his shoulder. Blood splattered. Elena screamed, grabbed a chair, and smashed it over the creature's head. It collapsed, but the other 2 advanced. "Run!" Jonas roared, shoving her toward the back door. They tore through the forest, chased by guttural growls. Jonas led her to a clearing, where a rusted oil rig loomed over dozens of decaying chemical barrels. "This is where it started," he said, "and this is where it ends." Elena spun around, heart pounding. "How?" Jonas pointed to the largest barrel. "A catalyst. If I trigger it, the bacteria will burn. But it'll explode, and we might not survive." Before Elena could protest, the creatures emerged from the swamp. Dozens of them, eyes glowing, snarling. Jonas pulled her behind the rig, hands shaking as he connected the tubing to the barrel. "I need you to hold them off." Elena grabbed a rusted metal pipe from the ground, her pulse hammering. One creature lunged. She swung with all her strength, caving in its skull. Black blood splattered across her face, the stench making her gag. Jonas shouted, "Ready?" "No," Elena screamed back, but he activated it anyway. A deafening explosion ripped through the swamp, flames engulfing everything. Elena was thrown to the ground, the heat searing her skin. Through blurred vision, she saw Jonas consumed by fire, but for the first and last time, he smiled. When the flames died, Elena lay motionless, her breath shallow. The screeching in her ears was gone, but she knew she wasn't the same. Dragging herself to her car, she used the last of her strength to start the engine and drive away, leaving behind the Atchafalaya swamp, where the nightmare had both begun and ended. That should capture the intensity of your original story in English.